The stones have settled down. The beach doesn't make its move. We see the people on dry ground. They're each looking down on you. And as you've sat there over time, your hate for them came through. You want them to help you climb, but there's nothing they can do. Solemnly, some still sit, some are swimming, some just sink. Melancholy deep shit loses meaning, do you think? That they're taking spaceships up to the stars we're reflecting. Guess we get what we get. That's just fine with me. We're all taking it real slowly. But down here in the few sea, all we really want is safety. Safety from all that's done wrongly. Down here in the few sea, we will try to drift on safely, drowning ourselves out from hurting. But even down here in the few sea, can we truly live in safety? Or are we just pretending? 'Cause are we ever really safe? Are we safe? Are we safe? We hide beneath an ocean, but few see, few see. We're drowning in emotion, but few see, few see. We're living in slow motion, in the few see, where few see. We can't handle the commotion, in the few see, in the few see. When the waves wash wildly, when we'll wreck what was once waking, when we will waste what moments we have waiting, wilting every day. What if we won't wait? We will wash away the wretched water. When we wage war, we'll waste no more. Put your arms to rest, they keep saying, on the brink. Weapons grounded, document. The journey won't miss a thing. Hold on, wait a minute. The dot's missing. Line 12's enemy. You know what? I can't take it. Who cares? I just want to keep believing. One day we will see. The few see is a state of mind. I'll stay right here, sinking in the few sea, 'cause in the cusp of this calamity. No! Returning back to old habits, I see. No! You don't control me. Oh yeah? Then why'd you write all those poems about me? I heard what you said. I'm done! There is nothing, can't you see? There is nothing I can't be. Hello and welcome. My name is Jaden, or Arranging the Pieces, and that poem you just heard was a poem called Are We Safe? From my first poetry book I wrote called Maybe Someday, which I wrote when I was 17 and 18 years old, and of course, as I've talked about before, is a time in my life that was really the darkest time for me, and I began writing a lot to help me cope and work through all the things I was struggling with. So this was all several years ago, and thanks to that writing over time, I have been able to work through things and get to a much better place. And I've been doing this series going back through this book and all the poems I wrote in it to kind of reflect on where I was and be able to see how far I've come and dive back into that place I was so I can continue to see how much I've grown and continue to grow from here. More recently, I published my second book called I Love Him at Last, which of course continues on the journey that this one started, but gets farther along in that, and me finally being able to look myself in the eyes and say that I truly love myself and the person I've been, despite all the challenges that I've been through and the flaws of mine and everything that have caused me so much trouble over time. But I have been able to get to a better place with that. And of course, I would definitely say I'm far from perfect in any of that and still have a long way to go in this journey. But as I continue writing, hopefully I'll be able to continue to grow and improve these things, and would love it if you would join me on that journey and stick around and see how I continue to grow throughout this book in the past, from then to now, and then of course now into the future, and how I continue to grow over time. And so I'd love to have you here for that if you'd like to stick around. But anyway, we'll get into this poem and sort of the story behind how it came to be and what it really means to me. So primarily, this is a poem that's really about depression and getting so stuck in that and used to that, that it becomes your place of comfort, which is really where I was at the time. Like, I had been depressed for a long time and really in this negative headspace. But for a while, I had been wanting to get out of that, and it was, of course, uncomfortable and negative and all this. But then it got to a point where I just kind of lost that fight and kind of gave into it and would actively fight against the positive or just be indifferent to all of the negative and just be complacent with it all. So that's what this poem is really about, and trying to help me understand that state of mind a bit better so then I can try to get that fight back into me and try to escape from this place I was in mentally and at the time. Another key thing that really inspired this and caused me to write it the way I did was that, of course, if you've been around, you probably know that I am very passionate about music, and it has been a huge part of my life, a huge inspiration, a huge source of like guiding me through these challenges. A lot of the music I listen to because the lyrics and messages of the song have really helped me understand myself better and been sources of inspiration for me to grow and continue to improve myself over time. And two of the really big artists that have done that for me and were key inspirations for me at this time in my life were 21 Pilots and NF. Their albums Trench and The Search were like the main thing I was listening to at this time. And both of those are very conceptual albums that dive into these dark subjects and kind of create this whole world and story around it, and kind of did what I try to do with my writing, where it expresses all those dark negative things for the sake of being able to have them in front of you, get them out, and then be able to work through them so then eventually you can get out of that mindset and negativity that you've just been trapped in. And so I really liked how they created this sort of world and story to symbolize this stuff. And so I wanted to try a sort of similar thing, but of course on a much smaller scale, and of course not as well as they could do because it was my first time ever trying something like that. But I created this idea of this place called the Few Sea. And that place to me really represented this mental state I was in, like this depression. And so in the beginning of the poem, it's kind of setting the scene for that, talking about these people like me who are in this place and are down in the Few Sea, just sitting there indifferent to how dark and gloomy it is. And we look up to the surface, up on the people just on ground, the people who are in a good place, who are happy, and resent them for feeling that way, but also at the same time not wanting to escape from where we are and go join them. Instead, we just sort of, out of jealousy, subconsciously are mad at them for being up there where we want to be, but we have tricked ourselves into believing that where we are down here at the bottom of the Few Sea is exactly where we want to be and where we need to be and should be and deserve to be. So though deep down we have dreams to swim up to the surface and live on the land and fly and just all these bright and wild dreams we have for ourselves, we just stay here down in the Few Sea and make ourselves believe that it is safe here and that the only way for this pain to be gone is for us to just continue sitting here until we've just drowned in our own sorrows. And that is how we will finally free ourselves from the depression and anxiety and all this stuff that we're dealing with. But then it starts questioning, saying how, but even down here in the Few Sea, can we truly live in safety, or are we just pretending? And sort of starting to realize that maybe this isn't our reality. Maybe we don't have to be stuck here, but we just can't get ourselves to truly believe that anyone else could understand our feelings and our emotions and our situations and everything. So we just surrender and give into it. But then there's that part where I had a lot of fun with the alliteration and realized that we once did have that fight in us. We're seeing that again and seeing that the waves have just washed that away, and the pressure down here at the bottom of the sea has just suppressed that all out of us. But what if we start trying to fight back and find that courage in us to challenge the mental blocks that have been holding us down for so long? If we can just do that, maybe we don't have to suffer anymore. Maybe we don't have to be trapped down here at the bottom of the sea, and we can truly thrive and be happy in who we want to be. But those thoughts always try to fight back before we even can get a fight in ourselves and say, put your arms to rest, and convince us that we don't need to fight and there's no hope for us even if we were to try. So for now, I just keep documenting what's happening and trying to make sense of things. Like, of course, as I said, through my poetry, I was able to do. And hopefully that would help me to continue to work through this stuff and get to that place eventually. But for now, as I say, I still can't really get there. But as I say, I just want to keep believing that one day we will see. The fusi is a state of mind. I may not have that courage yet to actually fight against these things I'm dealing with, but I have that little bit of hope to keep me believing that maybe one day I can, maybe someday, maybe someday. And I'm starting to see that this sea I'm in is really just a state of mind. It is a choice to be here and a choice to break out. So then that last section was really inspired specifically by the song Intro 3 by NF, where he personifies his fear and fights back against it. And the song is really this back and forth conversation and argument and battle between him and his fear. And so I wanted to, of course, try a bit of a similar thing here. So I start off saying, I'll stay right here, sinking in the few sea, 'cause in the cusp of this calamity. And that part is a callback to my poem, This Is All I Can Be, that was really about sort of personifying and telling a story of this cycle of depression I had gotten into. And it has that line that says, in the cusp of this calamity, right as in that poem, I fall back into that mental state and give in to the depression again. So here in this poem, I start to fall back into that, saying, in the cusp of this calamity yet again. But then this time I see it coming and realize this is about to happen. And I don't want it to, so I fight back and yell no. But then that inner thought comes into my head saying, returning back to old habits I see, referring to that repetition of the cusp of this calamity. I am going back into this cycle, just repeating the same things over and over, never escaping. And this voice is kind of mocking me. So then I fight back again, saying, no, you don't control me, trying to convince myself that I am in control here, not the thoughts, not the feelings. But then again, it comes in trying to mock me and bring me down, saying, oh yeah? Then why'd you write all those poems about me? I heard what you said. Kind of reminding me that all I've really been able to do to fight against this is just to write about it. And all these poems really highlight how much this thing really does have control over me, or at least has for this time so far. So it's trying to remind me of that and remind me of my failures and how much of an impact it has really had on me all this time. But then in the end there, I shakily, nervously, without truly the confidence and assurance in myself that it's true, I say that I'm done. I'm done listening to all these thoughts and being controlled by them. And I say that in contrast to that other poem I was talking about, where I say, this is all I can be, here I'm finally saying, there is nothing I can't be. And really trying to take that first step, that first jab at the negativity I've been stuck with, and convince myself really that there is hope for me and I can escape and I do have the strength and the courage to overcome these things. Of course, there's still a long way to go with it all, but you have to take that first step and start actively pursuing the things you want if you ever want things to improve and get to where you want them to be. So that's what I was trying to do with this poem. So that's about all I've got to say on Are We Safe? But of course, thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate you being here and being a part of this journey with me. Of course, if you enjoyed and would like to see more of this journey, you are more than welcome to check out all my past videos on this series and subscribe to stick around for future ones. And eventually we will get to that second book, as I mentioned before, And then, of course, I have other videos outside of this series where I just share more of my newer poetry and sometimes the old ones in sort of like short visualizer type of videos. And of course, in my shorts, I share a lot more frequently there if you want to check out any of my other poetry and see what my more recent stuff is like. So, before I go, of course, as always, remember, let your heart be open, even if no one receives it. Say what you mean, even if no one believes it. Live your life like you don't need a reason, because we're all broken and we're just arranging the pieces. Thank you. Said I so unbelievable, but actually I believed you. Tell me how.